Welcome back to episode 174 of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What up, dude?
And on the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
This time, no interview.
I know, right? It's been like a solid month or month and a half.
It feels like that.
We've been booked.
We have.
Which is, I guess, kind of a new thing for us, right? Typically, it's just you and I. It's like the Will and Iman show.
Yeah.
That is the Block Runner Podcast. And then we sprinkle in like an interview from time to time.
Yeah.
But we're slowly starting to, I guess, morph into more of like it's mostly us speaking to somebody else of interest.
Yes.
Trying to explore the depths of their knowledge bases and, extract something of value for you guys who are listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, we felt like, dude, it's been a while since we've talked our own stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was a small stretch where there wasn't a lot happening on the Ordinals ecosystem.
I'm sure there's always things happening,
but
it wasn't like so like being pushed out yet.
Correct.
Like a lot of like, what do they call that? Shadow deving?
Yeah. I'm sure there was a lot happening, but not publicly.
Correct.
Not until recently, like yesterday and today.
Yeah, it was a little lull, right? Whenever the volumes kind of fell off, BRC20 volume fell down. The inscription, acceleration, the pace of acceleration really hasn't slowed down much.
Correct. Yes.
But I guess like the surface face value metrics that were typically on display to kind of like showcase how much this space was booming kind of went the other way, right? And so of course, when those things happen, interest tends to kind of trickle away. It feels like we're the only ones left in the room, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
That's normal.
Yeah. And now there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
That shadow deving, you're 100% correct.
So much so that we're losing track, right? No, not like completely. I think we have a pretty good pulse on what's going on out there. And one of the biggest things we've noticed as of late, this DMT stuff is like really starting to spread.
Yeah, it seems like people are understanding digital matter theory, and they're starting to attach that theory to a lot of the stuff that they're finding on Bitcoin's blockchain.
Yeah,
as potential assets, valuable assets that can be inscribed out of the chain itself.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's coming from other project founders, especially from the Bitmap community, right? Because this is largely, you can attribute the principles of like what it is that's kind of innately interesting about the idea of digital matter theory, or the idea of like finding a new utility for blockchain, right?
Yeah.
The already innate existing components of what the blockchain data like represents.
Yeah.
Translating that into this new like digital value creation mechanism, right? That is what's cool, right? Casey Rodimer kind of like got the ball rolling with that with ordinal theory. And then a few months later, Satoshi Nakamoto got his, threw out his interpretation. It's like, you know what? Let me try and do something with this block information, right? Let's create a consensus around this idea.
Yeah.
But nobody really like packaged it into like a nice, neat
like name.
Yeah, a name, a framework. Well, there's still no framework.
Yeah, correct.
To be honest, and it's debatable if one needs to exist at all, right? Or is this just literally just it's an idea, it's an understanding that like humanity can kind of like, collectively accept and all individually like kind of like pick and choose how they decide to interpret this and express it. You know what I mean? It's almost like art.
I guess you're right. I don't know if there needs to be a framework, but I feel like if there was a framework, it would be easy to onboard people into the idea and like expand the ecosystem.
Well, that's the value of standards, right? It's it's not have like a fragmentation of, individual efforts. Yeah. It's like you want everybody to kind of be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Typically results in more efficiencies, right?
Yeah, agreed.
But maybe something like this is just much more, I don't know,
organic.
Broader. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of slapping like an artistic like label to this. It feels like data art, like art. Like, and this is like an artistic expression in a way,
Well, I feel like the standard would compensate for that. Like it would encapsulate the entire idea of like the potential of DMT, but like in the standard. So there wouldn't be a way to kind of go outside the standard because you could just use it and do what it is, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
And that standard is just a way to organize everybody and in one direction.
So what do you see like as like an optimal standard? Do you have one in mind?
Well, I think
we've been talking about this for weeks like amongst ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't really want to get too public with it until we got closer to like
something that other people can contribute to.
Something of substance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, ideas are cool and all.
Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah.
But you got to execute on something.
Yeah.
You got to bring an actual product or something tangible.
Right.
If we're going to expect real value to emerge from this,
Yeah, so I think first we should start with what is digital matter theory, and let's explain what that is, and then we can kind of go into like how people are applying that concept, and then potentially talk about how we can organize everybody into like one, a standard of a type that we can.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this or watching this, definitely recommend pausing right here, and then there's a video in our YouTube channel, probably posted 2 months ago or something roughly, titled probably like what is digital matter theory, and it's got like a pyramid on it on the thumbnail image. So I recommend watching that first as like a prelude, as like an introduction to the concept where we first started kind of like packaging it together, right?
Yeah.
And identifying what are the differences, like why arbitrary versus non-arbitrary, these types of things, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think in talking about digital matter theory, there's someone claiming that we were Blockimoto, right?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. The fact that we're so, I guess, amping this idea up, because there was like a tweet from Blockimoto discussing his third phase.
Yeah.
And then within that tweet, there was like a digital matter theory. So they're trying to link that as if, oh, this must mean you're Batoshi. I mean, you're Blockimoto.
Yeah, so Blockimoto has a tweet here from, well, I guess it doesn't say, but he has a tweet here, and it says, Unified Metaverse Positioning System, Phase 3, how ordinal theory, bitmap theory, and then digital matter theory. Okay, so anyway, so I respond to the tweet just to
check again, son.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? Damn, dude, you're so alpha out there on Twitter, dude. It's crazy.
I said, we talked about DMT in our podcast, and here's a link to the podcast. When you click on it, it says...
You circled the date? All right.
Peak crypto bear market introducing digital matter theory.
Yeah.
Podcast 167. By the way, this is 173. This is 6 podcasts ago.
So about 2 months, roughly.
Month and a half.
Okay, yeah. You're right.
And it says August 5th, right? It was a podcast. His tweet, I found it, and it says, well, let me zoom in here. August 7th. Right? So, and then you tweet up there.
Damn,
says,
dude.
Looks like Blockimoto's watching the podcast. So, I mean, I don't know if this really exemplifies how we're not Blockimoto.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but nonetheless,
all we could say is we're not, because that is the truth. We're definitely not Batoshi Blockimoto.
Yeah, we don't have that accent that he has.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's been on some Twitter Spaces before.
Yeah,
I don't sound like I'm from the other side of the pond, dude. I sound as American as they come, dude, and I can't impersonate that. Neither can you, right?
Yeah, I cannot.
So we're not Batoshi Blockimoto. We don't have him like
in the closet.
Yeah, he's not hanging around or nothing. So
yeah.
Just as like a public disclaimer.
I can confirm he's not in the room.
He's not here, dude. Yeah, we don't know his identity neither, so it's like, I guess it's kind of one of those things that would be nice if we were.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, like we got a recording where we tried to get that one.bitmap.
Yeah.
Because Batoshi, the actual Batoshi, put it on some kind of like auction platform.
Yeah. This is like way before Bitmap was cool.
Yeah.
Like way before.
Yeah. So we were one of the first ones introduced by Blockimoto.
Right.
This theory, right? That is for sure on record.
Yeah. And it's in our videos. We reference that tweet in the video.
Correct. So that was like a complete, like a weird just universe happened to align perfectly.
I mean, it's probable because we're always talking about Web3 metaverses.
Correct.
And here we are with one of the best representations of Web3 metaverses. Happens to be on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Of course, like the narrative is sexy. AF.
AF, dude. Yeah.
Dude.
So it stuck with us. And I remember those days. I remember whenever we first heard about Bitmap and we were doing our investigation, we're looking through Blockimoto's Twitter profile.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that he was actively trying to reach out to basically anybody who would listen.
Yeah.
Leonidas, Trevor,
yeah, exactly.
Big God, all the big fish, the big whales. When we're talking about the ordinal influencers, he got faded.
Yeah, 100%.
So then he added us, and it's kind of like the origin story how it all began.
Yeah. So I guess I'll link that video if you guys want to start to see the very first video of anyone talking about bitmap. It's there.
Yeah.
Right. We have a whole like
playlist,
series,
right?
a playlist of like bitmap videos.
Yeah. Definitely. So yeah. So I guess if you already paused this,
yeah,
and you came back because you already watched that 30 or that 20-minute video, and now it was like, all right, pause it again. Go, I guess, watch all those old podcasts or whatever, or don't do any of that, and let's just move on.
Yeah. So moving on, I wanted to highlight some of the tweets talking about DMT and stuff, and so here's one. Our Builder tool has just landed on YouTube. It's your gateway to mastering Builder, exploring our thrilling future plans, and I guess this is just an example of one small implementation of it.
Well, this is the Builder. So inscribe.space has like many different individual like development components to this Builder, right? And one of them is leveraging like your own bitmaps to terraform your own virtual environments, your own spaces, right? So it's like one of the original like hopes and dreams of how people would utilize their bitmaps, right?
That's right. That's right.
So it's already like in action, right? It's
happening.
Already,
yeah.
It's in utility at the moment.
And, as we were sort of developing this concept, DMT, we were like, okay, so we're talking about digital matter. And the counterpart to digital matter is physical matter. And physical matter is represented by a periodic table. And we're like, perhaps digital matter theory needs its own periodic table.
That's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And a periodic table is just a recognition of patterns called atoms.
Yeah.
Right? So if we find patterns on top of Bitcoin's blockchain, those are a form of digital matter called atoms, digital atoms.
Yeah, you'd have to go through like, brush up on your physics and stuff like that to understand.
Chemistry.
Yeah, to understand like what are the properties of what makes up matter, right?
Yeah.
What are the fundamental building blocks of that?
Yeah. Mass, gravity, and
these are all like intrinsic, like physical things that
are embedded in the simulation.
In this layer of existence, right? The
right.
physical layer.
Yeah.
Right. So, I guess the thesis or like the original conception of the idea is if we're gonna create like a digital virtual existence layer, why not apply some of those same like some similarity as far as parameters when it comes to creation of anything digital, right? But that has to come from something rooted that is very like immutable.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Some kind of provisioner of law in a way.
Yeah,
in the same way like the physical laws of the universe is like it's immutable, right?
Right.
Can't change those.
Kind of like block data.
Correct. So that's kind of where like there's a parallel and it kind of makes sense. If we're going to build a digital universe, aka a metaverse, let's do it that way.
Yeah,
right?
It makes sense. Yeah, because it removes the decision making of human beings, right? Nobody decided that the gravitational pull was 9.8 meters per second squared, right?
Yeah.
It was discovered.
They figured it out,
right?
Right?
Yeah.
Through the patterns of, how.
Mass.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so we don't have to go too deep into like
physics,
the sciences of things. There's plenty of videos on that stuff if you want to understand how like the laws of physics work.
Yeah, so I brought up the periodic table, and here we are with a tweet. It says by Bitmap Metaverse. He says, we need DMT NATs table. So NAT stands for non-arbitrary tokens. And so we had this exact same idea. And so this was tweeted September 3rd,
Yeah, so this is what's cool. You guys are figuring out like...
Yeah, exactly what we're thinking.
Yeah, we wanted to put the idea out there as just like, putting out some seeds.
Yeah.
What's that, like germination? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's
my biology background.
Damn.
We're spitting out some
seed.
Yeah, seed out there. Seeing where seeing where they land, right? Imagine it's a gust of wind.
As seed goes,
right? It just travels with the wind, right? And then eventually they find their resting positions, and who knows? Some of these seeds turn into full blown fucking mega
trees.
Yeah, things of life.
Right. Yeah.
So that was our hope and expectation, and it's happening.
Right.
Before our eyes, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built Mscribe, the first inscription platform built from the ground up for the metaverse on Bitcoin. Connect your bitmap ordinals and use our tools to bring your community into the virtual realm. Support us by joining the movement at mscribe.io. Like, comment, and subscribe for the latest alpha. Back to the video. So we got another tweet here by Archimedes. Digital matter theory is based. And so even outside the bitmap ecosystem, we have people thinking about DMT, and they're like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And so let's be clear. DMT is not only a bitmap thing. DMT has been leveraged by Bitmap, has been leveraged by Casey Rodarmor, and it can be leveraged in any way that you can think of. Like, for example, let's talk about an example, because I've been thinking about this.
Okay.
So let's say using block data that you find a pattern, right? Whatever it is, you can use the transaction ID, you can use the output values, doesn't matter. But as long as you find it within Bitcoin block data, you can use that pattern and say, all right, I found a pattern. How many times does this pattern exist within Bitcoin block data, right? Let's assume this pattern happens 9,900 times.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, well, what's close to 9,900? It's the 10K PFP projects, right?
Oh, so interesting. Here we go.
What if I came up with a PFP project that was 10K, and the PFP was completely based on this pattern?
Yeah.
And you use this pattern as a seed value to generate your PFP project, like frogs, apes, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the narrative is, I have a PFP project. What's new about this is that it's using DMT. It's using specific block data as a representation of this PFP project.
So that introduces something like an interesting new dynamic, right? Because now this isn't like a topped fixed supply, because there's introduction of new blocks regularly, right?
Part of the problem with PFPs is that it's a closed ecosystem, right? As soon as all 10K are owned by 5,000 people, that's as big as your community gets.
Yeah.
And if you happen to peer into the Web 2 space, 5,000 people ain't shit. That's nothing.
It's really not in the grand scheme. I mean, it's people.
Yeah.
5,000 people can achieve quite a bit, but yeah, in the grand scheme of communities, that's one of the micro ones.
Yeah, or a business. Like,
yeah,
if you have a business and you're interacting with 5,000 people, that's not enough.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
So what's cool about this is that because you're leveraging digital matter theory, data based on blocks, there's always an inflation, right? Maybe that pattern happens again in a new block.
Yeah.
And so now you have a brand new PFP sort of generated non-arbitrarily, which expands your ecosystem just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, so this is where it comes down to, like, right now we're like in this ideation stage, right? But obviously, like, the standards and the frameworks do not exist at the current day stage of ordinals to enable this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because just yesterday, Casey Rodarmor just did a pull request, just merged it. And there's an update called parent-child inscriptions. And so that parent-child has, this update has implications on the whole bitmap ecosystem.
Yeah.
And really the whole ordinals ecosystem. And makes things a tad bit difficult.
In what way?
It's more expensive to inscribe your parcels because now in order to sell your parcels, you have to inscribe them.
Because you have to be the owner.
And so that means if you have 2,000 parcels, you're looking at $2,000 to $4,000 price tag to sell the parcels.
Yeah, that's really important if you want to onboard some type of community, by leveraging your bitmap for that specific purpose, right? Which, in most cases you do. You don't want a metaverse with only one citizen, right?
Yeah, makes no sense.
Yeah, you want a metaverse with, I said metazone. A metaverse or a virtual environment with, with inhabitants, like a community, people contributing to that construction, right, process, because that's where more value is going to be created. So, yeah, under this new proposal, I guess, or this new framework, yeah, I could see there's more difficulty, right?
Yeah, 100%. So what do we do? Do we leverage the standard that has been added that has been merged to the ordinal theory? Or do we use some other standard that we come up with that makes life easier, better, faster, more efficient, more functional, everything, right? Or we ask Casey to make an update.
Yeah, it's definitely too early to tell. Yeah, as far as that, like this is only like a couple of days old, so
yeah,
I think the developers have to definitely voice their opinion on this matter for sure.
Yeah. So there's that. Just continuing on here, more digital matters theory stuff. So we have digital matter theory imbues bitmap with utilitarian substance, an ideal foundation for building the genuinely decentralized open metaverse humanity deserves.
Deserves, dude.
Dude, I love it.
I like that. I love the poetic way IoTBCC speaks. This is great.
Yeah, IoT, yeah. Combined with the computational possibilities of something like BOSS, a truly vast, unexplored territory.
Yeah, I totally agree. Couldn't agree more with this.
So good. That deserves a retweet.
Yeah, this is like this is why it's so interesting, just because it's native to Bitcoin and ordinals and stuff. This is the type of stuff you want to look for in a bear market, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's new. So, of course, IoT BTC has an entire tweet thread explaining digital matter theory.
Yeah, this was definitely a banger. I wish we could take credit for this, but we don't. And he did such good manners to even credit us at the very end of this tweet thread. It's like, he didn't come up with this. He was inspired by these types of conversations that we have, right? So
right.
If you can, just break it down. What is his interpretation of DMT?
Okay, so DMT proposes treating data as the unrefined raw substance. Dude, this is poetry here.
Yeah, this is gold.
Shared terrain of digital reality, something inherently useful we can build on and work with, versus always starting from scratch.
Yeah, for real.
So we've had an entire crypto history of people just arbitrarily just picking numbers, including Satoshi, by the way. Yeah. Which that's how it all starts.
Yeah, and that's not to say like that shit doesn't work or anything. Obviously, it works.
Yeah.
It's worked out tremendously well.
But here's the thing. It's worked out because that was the only option.
Exactly, yeah.
And so now we have a new option. So this will work. Just people need to leverage it, use it, and come up with creative ways to find these DMT values.
So then what's the point of introducing like a new variable or a new methodology? Like, why do this?
It's a new angle. It's a new kind of narrative approach to whatever it is that you're doing. If you're building a metaverse, DMT. If you're building a PFP project, leverage DMT. Because it's adds a new angle, a new kind of story to your assets.
Yeah, that and I think and trying to remove as much human involvement into these
that's a big deal. That's a big deal because now we can make decisions based on the data. It's completely independent from human kind of injection, and it's purely organic. Like the data on Bitcoin's blockchain came from humans in the first place.
Yeah,
it's all the transactions happening all over the world, and it's completely organic. And so it serves value in terms of value creation. So DMT unlocks an entirely new class of data-based digital assets unlike anything we've seen before. DMT assets are not created by teams. They inherently exist whether or not we make use of them.
Correct.
Here's an impressive example of applied DMT using Bitcoin transaction data to procedurally generate a unique 3D visualizations, ambient soundscapes for each. So we I think in our DMT video, we referenced this this thing by Symphony.
Yeah, that was our side-by-side comparison to the other side.
That's right.
Right. The other side, obviously tremendously valuable, $400 million roughly.
Yeah.
Was generated selling that digital space. But yeah, as far as like what the rendering of it was completely arbitrary.
That's right.
Versus this is.
Yeah. It came from the data of Bitcoin's block.
Yeah.
Right. So the first ever DMT crypto asset, Bitmap. Bitmaps are non-fungible digital artifacts, one-to-one representation of specific Bitcoin blocks. Each block contains a unique body of transaction and other data we can parse, interpret, and leverage in various ways to create new value. That value is a metaverse, right? So Bitmap metaverse theory proposes using Bitcoin block data, transaction data, and every block equals a district, and every transaction equals a parcel.
Yeah.
And we can use transaction data to generate unique topographies as a straight point for Bitmap metaverses. So here's another application of DMT. It's like, let's use the data on Bitcoin's block to increase the height and the actual topography, the terrain of the metaverse. And so we have projects already kind of leveraging this.
Yep.
Argin, Inscribed Space, I'm so Chris.
Yeah. So this is exactly what I'm saying. It's an understanding that is obviously, it's hitting.
Yeah.
Right. People are innately interested and they're gravitated towards this idea because, yeah, it eliminates a lot of, I don't know, like developer friction, I guess.
I would think so.
You don't have to sit there and just like, how do I perfectly architect this environment or whatever?
Yeah, and the fact that you can just kind of point to the Bitcoin block data, it's like, well, if anyone asks you, it's like, why did you do this? It's like, well, here in the block data, here are these numbers. I use these numbers to make that happen.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's just better.
Yeah, it's more. Now it does limit the creativity of it. Now we're removing like the burden of creativity from these human inceptors and relying on this information, right, to be like the creative basis for this stuff.
But I feel like if you're given a canvas and it's white, right, and it's like, okay, do something, just anything. I feel like that's much harder than here's a white canvas, but here are the tools that you can use to manipulate the canvas. Mm-hmm. Like all this is like the NAT, DMT stuff. Like, come up with something using this stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like it's cool because now everybody has the same tools. I was like, I agree. Yeah. I see this NAT, but I see this other NAT. I'm going to use this for that.
Dude, that's such a big fucking deal.
Yeah,
because that adds to the accessibility of creation. Right now, it's not just like a only developer exclusive ability.
Right.
Anybody who owns a bitmap can now tap into these tools. Now we just need to build the tools that leverage like these principles, right?
That's right.
And bring about these generative processes, right?
Yeah, a very simple application of this is like, let's take all this data, right? Let's put it into a database. Let's do some API endpoints for this. Let anybody access those endpoints, find the patterns within Bitcoin's block, and then access those patterns via API for your project. Mm-hmm. And it's a very simple thing, really, if you're a dev, right? If you're not a dev, it's not as simple.
Correct. So, yeah, this is, man, it's fascinating to see this. It's just amazing to think about. Like 3 months ago, none of this existed.
Yeah.
It was just like.
There's no bitmap, there's no DMT, none of this.
Yeah, and it was interesting to think about, like, what is going to be the next stage or phase of metaverse development? And definitely never expected that to kind of like come from Bitcoin in any way.
No, absolutely not.
That's kind of the biggest mind-blowing surprises, I guess.
Yeah.
Like all of this is originating from Bitcoin, the least likely of suspects.
Yeah.
3 or 4 months ago,
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So what else can you do with DMT? Mm-hmm. We have approaching Bitcoin block transaction data. We have this idea called non-arbitrary tokens, NATs, a novel and interesting alternative to mining shitcoins out of thin air.
Correct.
Right? Consider, for example, the famous block 57043, the 10K Bitcoin pizza transaction. Mm-hmm. So far, 416 transactions of exactly 10K Bitcoin have occurred in Bitcoin's history. Mm. We can tokenize these. He says, how? If Bitmap contains a parcel corresponding to a 10K BTC transaction, the parcel owner could theoretically inscribe one 10K BTC token for each matching instance and sell the token while retaining ownership of the underlying parcel. Mm. So supply of transactions totaling exactly 1,000 BTCs, roughly 12,000 transactions, 100 BTCs, 117,000, 10 BTCs, 656,000. And so you get the point.
Yeah.
You discover a pattern. The pattern is 1,000 BTC. Mm-hmm. How many times does that pattern occur on Bitcoin's blockchain? It's 12,000. So that's 12,000 tokens that could exist. What does that kind of look like? It looks like sort of like a PFP project, right? You could do it that way.
Yeah.
So what utility do such NATs offer? In the long run, who knows? Realistically, all else aside, many obviously enjoy pure meme coin trading. The crucial difference: rarity results from purely deterministic processes. No team VCs to rug or manipulate. 100% pre-distributed supply.
Yeah.
Meaning if you own a bitmap, you own the underlying assets. That's cool. So in this digital environment, you could just mine your own virtual ground for these digital assets. So 3 awesome websites for searching, filtering, and exploring Bitcoin block data. We have Blockchair, Bitmap Community, and BitLodo. And we could theoretically apply DMTs to any data set, but if you had to choose the most decentralized, distributed, hard and durable, crypto-native data set of all time, of course, the Bitcoin blockchain has no parallel.
Yeah.
That's why the first mover bitmap is and will likely remain the OG king of DMT assets, and we continue to explore this non-arbitrary data-based digital assets. So, of course, he says, I did not come up with this. We talked about this in the YouTube channel, and here's a link, and that's that.
Masterful thread, dude.
Yeah. As a matter
of fact, I don't think
we
could have put it together better ourselves.
I think I said the exact same thing when I quote tweeted this. I think I said, let's see.
Masterful thread?
Yeah. Or what a beast thread. Something like that.
That sounds like something you would say for sure. We're damn, dude.
Or
there's a lot of reaction to this. Or you didn't say anything at all.
Maybe I didn't say anything at all, but
Was it in the comments?
Of course I tweeted it.
Okay.
It's
fine, dude. I believe you. I believe your hype and enthusiasm when you saw this thread, because that was great.
Yeah. Fantastic walkthrough of DMT and non-arbitrary time. This is a must for the Bitmap ecosystem. Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel?
We also built MetaZone, the first app store for the Metaverse.
Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game, Rovi.ai.
Support us by collecting your digital assets through MetaZone at metazone.io.
Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated.
Back to the video.
Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, there's just us kind of talking about it, referencing Archimedes and Metaverse. Correct me if I'm wrong, but digital matter theory deals with the traits and attributes of inscription, not necessarily the parent-child of inscriptions. So this is where we start getting into like the whole parent-child situation, which has some implications with DMT in terms of like NATs. So that still needs to be figured out. And the whole story is they merged this update. We looked at the update. We looked at the merge. It's only code. There's no comments. There's no documentation. And it seems from the looks of it that it's missing some stuff. So
okay.
And we got a lot of this information from Benny, the dev from Track. But yeah, so there's just more tweets about people talking about DMT.
Okay. So then, so the seed is spreading. People like the idea.
Yeah.
And I think we started off with something interesting, whether or not like we should be expecting like some sort of formality.
Oh yeah, let's talk about
down
that.
The line. Like,
okay, so here's the thing.
Because clearly people are doing it anyways. Like they're interpreting it their own way. They're coming up with their own, I don't know, internal algorithms with their tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's working, right?
Yeah.
Now, does there have to be some sort of unifying standard, right? This is like reminiscent of like early NFTs.
Yeah.
Everybody came up with their own mechanism or method to create, some sort of non-fungible-esque asset on Ethereum.
Sure.
But it wasn't until Dapper Labs came in with like an ERC 721 standard.
That's when everything exploded.
It's true.
So that's why
the question.
That's why it makes sense to come up with some sort of like framework.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So let's think about this. So we need a little bit of help here because here's the thing. So obviously we like bitmaps, and obviously we've painted the picture that everyone owns this bitmap, this digital space, and if you look inside this digital space, there's all these like non-arbitrary tokens like embedded into it because there's patterns everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So you can sort of like virtually mine the space and extract those NATs and own them as BRC20s or whatever token represents these NATs, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, we're just in the bitmap ecosystem. What if some other PFP project outside of the bitmap ecosystem says, I like DMT. I want to leverage DMT for my picture project. If someone recognizes a pattern within the bitmap ecosystem, does that mean that they own the pattern completely throughout Bitcoin and Bitcoin's blockchain? Mm-hmm. I don't think so. And so the standard or the framework has to say, I recognize this pattern for the bitmap ecosystem. If you own a bitmap, then you own this pattern if it exists within your parcel or bitmap.
Now, does that pattern, can it still be applied and utilized for something outside of bitmaps, or is it only native? This whole theory should be confined to like only bitmap ownership. I feel like that is the distribution mechanism.
I feel like in terms of the standard, part of the standard says I recognize a pattern it's for the bitmap ecosystem, or it's for my PFP project, or it's whatever it is, whatever your project is, it's the pattern, your project, and then you like inscribe it, you own it, and you use it for your project.
Okay.
I feel like that is a better implementation of a framework rather than I recognize a pattern and I own the pattern. That means if you want to use that pattern for your PFP project, you know, you technically don't own it, right?
Yeah. Now, can you foresee any other, like, I don't know, possible experimentation around this DMT protocol, or I guess like understanding outside of bitmaps, right, or the metaverse space?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like the whole PFP thing.
Well, like you mean like the actual rendering of 2D like art?
Yeah.
Just use like just like you can generative process 3D landscapes, right? You should be able to generatively process 2D art or artifacts or whatever it is, right?
Well, let's think about another implementation of like the standard. Let's say you inscribe the pattern, and it's anybody can point to that pattern using recursive inscription.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
So here it is. The pattern is inscribed. It exists somewhere. It's called whatever, right? It's pattern dot whatever.
Let's give it something. I don't know. A sequence of something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
That's a 9-digit pattern. That's probably going to be very rare. Like, you know. So
there's only 10 of those, right? There's only 3 of those.
So what is being parsed as far as like the information within the blocks?
Anything within that block data can be parsed.
Okay.
Right. So it could be the transaction hash. It can be the inputs and outputs of transactions. It can be the entire hash value of a block.
Okay.
You can use anything.
Okay.
Right.
So anytime like that sequence, whatever it is, the desirable sequence, the pattern, it's recognized within the block.
Yes.
That is like your tangible, extractable value.
Right.
From that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So now let's say you come up with that pattern. You inscribe it, right? It's formally acknowledged that the pattern has been inscribed. Bitmap, PFP projects, other projects, whatever, they can recognize that pattern and use recursive inscription to say, on this, using this recursive inscription, I'm gonna come up with this NET that can be inscribed if you own bitmaps. And then some other guy could say, I'm going to use that pattern using recursive inscription, kind of point to it and say, in my project, I am pointing to that pattern, and that pattern exists for my PFP project. I'm using it in whatever format it is, right? It doesn't matter. And so through recursive inscriptions, everybody's kind of pointing to that one pattern that has been formally recognized, and they're coming up with thousands of derivative projects as a result. So maybe that is the way. So
that's just us.
Yeah.
That's the thing. These are just our ideas.
Correct.
Right? And that's kind of the point. This isn't like some project that we're launching, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, we can't.
We're not like saying like, hey, like we're the ones who created this thing. You guys got to follow our rules, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, this is an idea. Anybody can kind of add and contribute to these principles, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a starting point. That's all we're trying to do here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In no way do we want to control any of this, because we got way too many things on our plate anyways.
That's such a good point.
But it's something that we want to use. Obviously, we see a lot of value in this. We are going to be using it. We just don't know the best way to utilize it in a way that it's part of a standard that anybody else can utilize and so forth. So that's why we're discussing it.
Yeah, we're going to bring forth our own, I guess, like flavoring, our own interpretation. And like we said, we're already seeing different builders and developers in the bitmap ecosystem.
Yeah.
Already like run away with this concept, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what's exciting. So, yeah.
So look at this tweet. I want to be the first non-arbitrary token whale. Please keep me updated. So this is to IoT BTC.
Wow. It's quite the claim, dude. To be the first NAT whale. So I don't know. Like, I guess some feedback is needed.
Yeah.
Are these names, these acronyms, are they like the right ones? I guess that's one of the main things that
I feel like that one's already like out of the bag. Like the acronyms DMT and NAT.
Yeah, like it's already fixed.
Yeah, it's already.
Well, it's good. Sounds good to me, dude.
Yeah.
Obviously NATs, it's not NFTs, but it's close enough, right?
Yeah.
NFTs are a bad word nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's close enough. It still like rings to that. It taps into that. Oh, I remember NFTs. They were like, tremendously valuable one day.
Yeah, and it's important. The name is actually important because these are non-arbitrary tokens. What is a token? Could be a fungible token. It could be a non-fungible token.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So there needs to be something to distinguish, right, between these now two classes of digital assets.
That's right.
Before there was only one.
Right.
So there was no need to like have some sort of like distinguisher.
Yeah.
But now there's two.
Right.
So there's
the arbitrary tokens, which is everything we've seen up until this point.
Correct.
For the most part, like 99.99%.
Yeah.
And then there are the non-arbitrary tokens like Bitmap.
Yep.
So Bitmap is the first non-arbitrary token, right?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so. Yeah, for sure. Or these rare sats.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess those are also non-arbitrary.
Yeah. Because you've now converted like these individual
That's
units.
True. Yeah, it is. That's true.
And leveraged their, I guess, the innate property of like,
So that means the rare sat cartel community, they're leveraging DMT as well.
I 100% believe that, dude. That's what I mean. I think everybody's just like doing this without actually knowing. Like, we need an umbrella.
Yeah.
Like narrative, I guess, for this whole like thing that's happening.
Yeah, because just saying rare sats and just repeating it all the time, like we're seeing on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really mean anything.
Correct.
Right. But digital matter theory is the application of block data from an organic source like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then leveraging for a project like rare sats or Bitmap.
Correct.
So, all right. So we've cleared that up.
I think we've established it, dude. I don't know if there's anything else really to add on to this DMT stuff other than this is a starting point, and we're expecting to see the community really contribute in a big way to expand, I guess, on these ideas and stuff. And of course, we're going to bring in our own interpretation as well. There you go. This is an artistic representation, I guess, of what DMT represents.
Yeah. Digital matter theory by 8-bit sats.
Yeah, you got your blocks. You got like
terrain.
Yeah, all this is it's in unison now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess to outline everything, what's the time, TJ?
42.
42? Okay. I guess the whole point is that we need to figure out the best way to do this. Are we going to use recursive inscriptions to represent a pattern?
Yeah.
You recognize a pattern formally with an inscription, and people point to that pattern and come up with, a million different ways to utilize that pattern, which seems to me like that's probably the path, right? And so if that's the path, then, what's the format to formally recognize patterns? People will inscribe those patterns and be like, yeah, I'm the digital archaeologist that have discovered this pattern. And look at me, there's millions of different projects as a result of this pattern.
So obviously there's a big indexer involvement in all this, right? Indexing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So if you've heard our discussions in the past with, several of the other Xverse founder and stuff, we've talked about this issue of indexing.
Yeah.
It's ubiquitous, right? Because there's no decentralized real standard or solution to this yet. So
yeah.
So this is going to only add on to that. Right.
Yeah.
It's going to really add even more pressure to we really need to figure out how do we get this indexing dilemma.
That's true. That's true. There needs to be a website, collecting all this information. Here, basically, here's all the list of all the patterns ever inscribed or recognized, and then with that list, if you click on it, it'll show you all the projects leveraging the pattern, and it's just a formal way to just keep everything organized, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to kind of think through here.
I think over the weeks we're gonna stay. Well, obviously we're gonna be interviewing other guests and stuff, but doing regular updates as far as our progression, to try and add more contributions to this idea and this ecosystem.
Yeah.
This whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
And checking in on the community, what you guys are doing with this, and I think this at some point will flourish into something as organic as it gets.
Yeah.
Aligned with the Web3 ethos.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to talk to Trevor and Leonidas, have them come on the podcast, chat it up about this stuff. Just just because it's being leveraged with rare sats, and these are the guys mainly the ones pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have, if you check out our video from yesterday, we have miners taking advantage of it as well. They're starting to not only collect their Bitcoin, but separating the rare sats with the common sats.
Correct.
And so if they're doing it, they're seeing value, and I guess more data that suggests that this is becoming more valuable across all of crypto.
Yeah.
So yeah. I guess that's it. I don't think there's anything else to kind of break down.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. That's it for us. If you have any thoughts or any comments, let us know in the comment section below. Let us know if you agree. If you come up with a solution for this standardization of DMT and NATs, let us know in the comment section below. Hit us up on Twitter as well. We try to respond to everything that we can, and that's it. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.